Hello and welcome to the British Dapper Summer Style Essentials. Stay cool and sharp. Men's style ideas. So when it comes to the summer period, then we're really looking at some lightweight fabrics, and you can choose from a number of different fabrics, from linen to linen blends with silks and wools, or we can go with a more traditional wool blend. But when we say wool, we don't mean thick wool. This is really down to the number of fibres in the yarn. So you can have a very, very fine wool, almost like a silk or a cotton fibre. And it does give you really good suit material or even jacket material as well. And depending on the style you're going for, whether we look at a full-blown suit or if we look at separates, for example, a jacket and trousers, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how much versatility there is out there in the fabrics that we can use in the summer months. Now, first of all, let's talk about linen as a material. Now, linen is one of those materials that has some really good properties. It's very breathable, lets air circulate around the body very easily. The problem with pure linen is it can be very creaseable. In other words, it wrinkles, it creases. In my personal opinion, I struggle with linen. It is one of those materials that creases and wrinkles, and I'm not a great lover of that. But if you can embrace that, the material itself is a very good material to use in the hot, sticky climate that we have midsummer, and where you need to wear a jacket and a pair of trousers. What I would suggest though is maybe look at something that's got a little bit more of a mixed fibre. So for example, whilst it will have linen in the actual material, it might have silk or wool in it as an example, or even cotton, which with that blend of mix in the fibres in the yarn, you will end up with a material that is less creaseable and wears much more like a suit material and springs back very easily, rather than linen, which creases and holds the crease. So some of these materials are becoming more and more mainstream rather than pure linens, because of that fact, that bounce back factor, that less crease and wear look. But let's start thinking about what we're actually going to wear. Now, in London the other week, I was looking around, and one of the primary colours that seem to be coming through at this time of the year, besides the typical beige or stone colours that are coming through and those light earthy tones, sage is quite a colour that's coming through, that soft pepperminty colour or eucalyptus green colour that seems to be quite prevalent at the moment, and goes particularly well with either in a suit or in separates. Now I would say whatever your preference is, whether it's single-breasted or double-breasted, this summer look is all about, I would suggest, more of an Italian or Mediterranean vibe that's out at the moment. So it is very much quite a flamboyant style. So it's not uncommon to see double-breasted jackets with a pair of chinos, or even with a pair of jeans for that matter, along with, if it's in a suit, we're looking at similar sort of style where we've got double-breasted, we've got pleated trousers, and a very good look for the summer months, and lightweight fabrics to give you that breathability. So whilst in the summer months we can talk about the blazer look, which is that navy blazer with the gold buttons or silver buttons, maybe change that for something that has, for example, a mother of pearl button, and you get a slightly different vibe from the actual jacket. But that typical nautical look is still about and still very common. But if we want to go away from that, then I suggest we're looking at something along this sort of colour, this taupe or light oatmeal colour, very common at the moment, very practical colour. But I think coordinating this colour can be a little bit challenging for some people. And it's very easy to make the fatal mistake of pairing a jacket of this colour with trousers very similar, and you'll get a slight tone difference and it looks like you're trying to make a suit, but at the same time it's not working very well. And so I would suggest, if you're not buying a suit specific to your requirements in that particular colour and you're looking at separates, then with separates we want to go for a contrast between the jacket and the trousers. And if the jacket is light, then I would suggest go for a slightly darker trouser and you'll get a better look overall. But equally, in the very high summer months, you could get away with a white pair of trousers or a white chino or slightly off chino, and you still have a very good look. But it has to be contrasting rather than too closely matching to get the right effect. And what I would say is, whilst we may not wear a tie, then always wear a pocket square to lift that overall look, and you'll get a very good aesthetic with that. Shoes, I would suggest, are more relaxed, and we're looking at a light tan shoe or maybe a suede shoe, and up to a mid-tan shoe for that relaxed casual look. But we're looking at something along the lines of a penny loafer, bit loafer, or for example it could be monk strap shoes, or a split toe derby is a really good shoe that's out at the moment and very popular and is a very common look at this time of the year. Equally, you could get away with a light tan pair of brogue shoes, whether they be Derby or Oxfords, and you still have a really good look as well. But it's all about that Mediterranean vibe and that relaxed look. Something I would consider is the gun club jacket, and this is generally a fine pattern, can be multiple colours, but it's something that really does go particularly well with those thin fibres, thin material jackets, but it really does accentuate a different colour and gives you a little bit of patternation as well in the actual jacket. And it goes particularly well with separates or in the suit version, but I would suggest separates are very easy to pair and mix with other things, other trousers in the summer months, whether they be jeans, chinos, or a pair of fine wool trousers or cotton trousers, and you really do get a good look. But I would suggest the current emphasis on style colour is light tones, earthy tones, rather than darker colours. But equally, a mid-blue is a really good colour to go for as well. Something to consider when you've got this sort of colour is that whilst it's a nice light colour and great for the summer months, then maybe pairing the trousers, whilst we don't want to go for a really dark pair of trousers, maybe change that to go for something that's a little bit more challenging in the actual colour. For example, a pale blue trouser, or for example even a pink, blushed pink or a coral pink goes particularly well with this colour, and it does contrast it enough to make it a really good ensemble overall. Be a little bit careful with the shoe colour there, and sometimes it's worth going a little bit darker in the shoe, so a mid-tan shoe would go particularly well with this look. What I have found is with this particular look, then it goes particularly well with a pair of navy chinos, navy striped shirt, and it's a really good look overall with some mid-tan brogue shoes, or if you wanted to wear those monk strap shoes. Monk strap shoes go particularly well in the summer months, and you can actually get a really good shine on them as well, and they still look, even in a more formal setting where you'd wear a tie, still look good. They can be very relaxed, and you could wear them with a pair of jeans, mid-tan shoes. In this case we're wearing some derby shoes and light coloured jacket, and still overall a very good look for the early to midsummer period, and very good to wear in a very casual setting. For example, popping into town, meeting people for coffee or lunch, something along those lines, in a very casual setting. This is an outstanding look. Equally, those puppy tooth jackets, they're really good at this time of the year as well, and goes particularly well with a light coloured shirt. In this case we're using a pink shirt. Really does lift and elevate that look, and don't be afraid to use a little bit of colour in the summer months. It's about the only time where it really does stand out and goes particularly well with those summer ensembles that we're talking about. And even with that puppy tooth jacket, goes well with a pair of jeans. But equally you could change that for a different pair of chino trousers in the light summer period, and I would suggest maybe with this look, maybe go for a pale blue pair of chinos, pink shirt and this jacket, and you've got a really good look overall. So just a few ideas there for you really about the sort of things that are out there at the moment that are quite trend setting at the moment. Whilst I'm not suggesting that we look at fashion, we are more considering the classic look. A lot of these designs and these colours come back time and time again, particularly with the Mediterranean vibe in the summer months. It's all about those pale earthy tones and different layerings of those. For example, the colour matching of these items, try and go for that contrast, and you won't go far wrong. Also, don't forget to inject a little bit of colour, or don't be afraid to inject a bit of colour into the ensemble. So if you're going to wear a white shirt and white trousers as an example, and a pair of light tan or toffee coloured loafers, then why not wear a jacket with a little bit of texture and a bit of colour to it? And it does just lift the overall look, I think. And don't be afraid to change those trousers for a slightly different colour. So in this case we've got some toffee colours or cinnamon colours in the actual jacket check itself, and we've picked that out and used that as the main colour for the trousers, and you'll see those tobacco or toffee coloured chinos go particularly well with this look. Just want to remind you, we have a Patreon page where we have a group of like-minded people coming together to talk about sartorial things. We provide additional content for those that join the Patreon group, and depending on your level of access, you may even have access to me for one-to-one Zoom calls to discuss a particular issue you have, or even just to catch up. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, then please feel free to do so. We also love constructive comments, so if you'd like to make some, jot them down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you've got a question you'd like to pose to us, or you'd like an answer to, then why not jot it down? We'll try and answer your question for you. We also like ideas for future videos, so if you want to make a contribution and make a suggestion about future content, then please, again, jot it in the notes below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The next video could be something that you've recommended or suggested. So until next time, take care.